here, man.
We'll wait. Yeah, we'll wait. I don't want to
You're willing to wait?
get cussed out.
You pay attention to Colorado's recruiting and all that stuff?
You know what? I haven't had an opportunity to do so. Are they doing pretty good?
I keep track of basically the transfer portal and everything else. I have no idea.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
All I know is Shedeur Sanders went back, and he may have been the first-round pick.
Wow.
So, take your time, Nikki. Nothing going on.
All right. Can we start? We good now?
Ready when you are.
All right, Miss Nikki. All right. Good afternoon. Hope all is well. Hopefully everybody had a safe New Year's celebration. Coming off a tough loss, but there were some good things that showed. I thought our O-line did a pretty good job up front. I thought they pretty much did a good job against a pretty good defensive front. It was good to get B-Rob back out there. I thought he did some nice things. On top of that, Sam had another opportunity to step out there. Thought he did some good things. Obviously, there's some things that he can continue to work on and cleaning up. But overall, we just continue chopping wood and continue moving in the right direction. So with that said, I'm all ears.
Eric, do you think, looking at where you guys are at now, where's the offense compared to where you thought or hoped it might be at this point in the season?
Well, you know what? It's a continual progression. We're steadily working to improve. I know one thing, we've done a better job of protecting the quarterback. When we've had an opportunity to run it, we've done an efficient job of running it. I think we've got a pretty good average. But overall, the growth is continuing. And we just got to continue chopping wood and continue defining who we are. This week, obviously, the guys have been doing a heck of a job. I mean, they're into it. We just finished practice. They're working their tails off. They're excited about this opportunity that's coming up. Obviously, it's the Dallas Cowboys. It means something around here and to these guys. So, I think there's still a lot to improve upon and continue to work on.
Obviously, we all know there's all sorts of talk about what's going to happen here after the season. How do you shield yourself from that? Do you hear any of that talk, and what does it do for a coach? What's it like?
You know what? You live in the moment. The only thing I can worry about and control is today. Right now, I'm here having this press conference with you guys, spending this time in this moment with you. We go back inside. Obviously, we'll have an opportunity to watch today's practice. We'll continue preparation for Red Zone. So that's where my focus is. You can only live in the now and live in this particular moment. You can't worry about tomorrow. You can take care of tomorrow when tomorrow gets here.
To ask you a little bit of a bigger picture question as well, you've now been here a full year, full season with one game to go. Where you were before was basically the high standard in the league. What does it take for this team, not just with talent, but just the organization as a whole, now that you've been here for a year, to start to really make strides towards that? What are the differences that they need to sort of get to, that you guys need to get to here?
Well, I can only answer that possibly from just being an offensive coordinator. The other issues, it's not for me to address. I think that's, ownership and whoever they decide to bring in there as a new head man or whatever, they decide to go in that direction. But overall, the only thing that you can control is your work ethic. And one thing that I think our guys have done a great job offensively is just continuing showing the improvement in their work ethic, because we can't control everything. You're not going to be perfect at everything. But one thing you can control is the effort that you put into it. And that's on the field, that's in the classroom. It's second effort in finishing everything. On top of that is taking the notes in the classroom and then asking the proper questions so you can get the right answer. But other than that, we just need to make sure that we learn how to become resilient. When things go wrong, it's not, here we go again with that. No, it's time to basically stand tall, hold your head up high, and figure out how we're going to handle this next situation and continue powering forward. So if anything, and I'm just talking about an offensive football standpoint, that's where we need to go. That's the direction we need to head in.
And since whatever happens, we probably won't have a chance to talk to you after this week. For you, what has this experience changed how you view your career, what your goals are, things you'd want to accomplish?
I mean, you're always self-evaluating, but when it's all said and done with, the only thing that you can worry about is this moment. This is all that matters. Obviously, it hasn't been the season that we would like it to be, but I've had a great deal of fun. It's been a great opportunity working with the coaching staff and just the personalities and, sharing all the different intimate moments that you have throughout the course of a season, and then having this opportunity to work with some of these players. It's been a great learning experience, not only for them, but for me as well. Just getting to know people and then understanding personalities and then just making sure that you can make what you know fit with the dynamics of what you have in that room. So it's been something that I'm looking forward to, and it's been a great experience. And so I want to use everything that I've learned this year, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, to move forward in a positive light.
You talk about the learning experience for all. I mean, did anything surprise you looking back on the season about, be it some of the things you encountered, good, bad, or otherwise?
Well, more than anything, I don't know a coach out there that doesn't want to win. So that's the surprising part, is that we haven't won more games. To become resilient in those moments, making sure you can keep the creativity up. On top of that, keep your spirits up, but also making sure that you're doing the right things and keeping it creative and fresh with the players. That way they remain enthused about what's next. So, it's just like I'm fired up. I mean, Terry has an opportunity to go and, get 1,000 yards receiving. I'm like, hey, man, listen, we 54 yards away. You got to make it happen. On top of that, I just want to see Sam finish on a positive note. This kid has worked his ass off. Excuse my language. He's worked his tail off this whole entire year, and I just want to see him finish on a high note. I want to see our offense and our team to finish collectively together as a unit that work their tail off, and, they can see the rewards. Last week, it felt good watching the O-line play and watching them have the success that they had. But you don't want to celebrate in defeat, okay? Because when it's all said and done, we didn't accomplish the goal. But there were some little steps that we took moving in the right direction. So hopefully we can complete the cycle.
I asked Ron a similar question yesterday just on his view of what it's like developing quarterbacks and finding that franchise guy. Based on your experience of being in Kansas City before Pat Mahomes, during Pat Mahomes, and then coming here and working with Jacoby and Sam, what has your view of that position changed over the years, and how difficult is it to find that guy?
It hasn't changed at all. That position is the most praised. It's the most scrutinized. It's probably the most powerful position in this industry. And so you just want to make sure that you got the right person in the building. But on top of that, you also have to understand that it takes time. Nobody's going to come in here and set the world on fire, their first year. It generally doesn't happen like that. You have to go through some rough patches, whether that's sitting on the bench and watching from a veteran or getting baptized by fire and playing. So there's a lot that goes into it. But the thing that I do appreciate is just having this opportunity to watch Sam go through it, okay? And then also having that opportunity to have a Jacoby Brissett in the building, who's a veteran, proven player, who's not only a heck of a person, he's an outstanding quarterback, but also, too, he's one of Sam's biggest advocates. And so when you have that chemistry and you have the dynamics of the people that we have in that room, it makes it, not only is it a challenge, but it makes it fun. And it keeps you on your toes because you have to remain creative. You got to make sure that you're staying on top of film, staying on top of, the new concepts. So you're keeping those guys enthused about learning and just advancing in this industry.
Just a quick follow-up on what you said about developing guys. from an outsider's perspective, it feels like there's even more urgency than ever for young quarterbacks. They either star immediately or they're kind of pushed to the side. Do you feel that as a coach, and what sort of challenge does that create for you if so?
I think every situation is different. So I think you can only base it upon the circumstances that you're dealing with. So this situation happens to be a different one than other organizations. So I can't speak on everyone's behalf. I can tell you from my previous experience when we had Alex Smith and Pat. Pat had an opportunity to learn. And, you know, more than anything, I think one of the biggest values that a young guy can do is see a veteran player come in every single day and watch how he works. I think more than anything, that's probably the biggest life lesson of all of this. But, you know, on top of that, watching him work and then making sure that he's doing all the groundwork necessary to help him to develop that skill set, that work ethic, and that behavior so he can have the temperament moving forward to become the franchise quarterback that you would like him to become.
If you could go back to the beginning of the season, do you think throwing the ball as much as you did would be the best way to win games or develop Sam?
I think going back, looking at it, yes, in order for a quarterback to play, you got to give him an opportunity. Now, obviously, you can look back at situations and say, well, he did something different, but a lot of that is predicated on the score, the situation that presents itself. Yeah, there's a number of things that you can do to change everything, but it worked out the way it did. And I think what has happened throughout the course of the season, it's helped Sam to grow. Like I said, he's had some highs, he's had some lows, he's had some challenging situations. But the thing that is testing, it's not only testing him as a talent, it's testing his character. And he's finding out more about who he is as a person. And the thing that I love about him is his behavior has not changed. If anything, you know, going through this adversity has made him even more hungrier. It's given him even more of a passion to want to perfect his skill set. So, you know, that's the thing that excites me about Sam, and that's what you want from a quarterback. I mean, obviously there's always things you would love to do. Sam's development happened the way it did, and I guarantee you he's probably the happiest person in the building because he's had an opportunity to sling it around the park, and not every young quarterback can say that.
When we've talked to opposing defenders this year, they've talked about Sam's aggressiveness, how that's just kind of intrinsic to him, and sometimes it'll lead to big plays, sometimes it'll lead to negative plays. When you have a guy that's like that at his core, is it possible to get plays and reduce?
I believe so. I mean, you always want a quarterback to be aggressive, regardless. I don't care which quarterback you're coaching, because you want him to feel like he's the best player on the field at all times. We're giving him the keys for a reason, and we want him to help lead us to a championship. So, yeah, you want that guy to have that confident swagger about himself, but there's also a process too. One of the biggest things you learn from just watching and observing young quarterbacks is getting a quarterback to understand all the different type of defensive coordinators that you're seeing. I mean, these coordinators are doing a pretty good job of mixing up coverages. They're doing a great job of presenting different looks. And so I think seeing pre-snap, post-snap, and that's not a negative. That's every quarterback goes through that.
Talk about the fun and the ups and downs, but you haven't been through a losing season like this in quite some time. You've been playoff game planning and Super Bowls. Just on a personal level, how hard has the losing been?
It's been a challenge. It has been. I know more phone calls and more text messages than I ever have. So, you try not to internalize it. It's tough because when you always want to win regardless. I'm one of those people that I want to beat you in checkers. I want to beat you in Uno, whatever. And so it is hard. But I think because of my competitive fire that helps me, that keeps me going in this industry, it forces you to continue to grow because now it forces you to really take an in-depth look at self, okay? It forces you to reevaluate everything that you're doing and how you're doing. It forces you to make sure that you're doing a even better job of over-communicating with your staff and with your players, but also just what you're doing, basically just taking a look at the overall process of everything. So, and you guys have heard me say this, sometimes without no bad luck, you wouldn't have any good luck at all. And so, obviously, this season has not been the very best. But I will say this, there's been a lot of life lessons that I've encountered that have helped me to grow, and I know it's helped our staff to grow as well. And these players, they are learning that just because you have a professional tag next to your name does not necessarily mean that you're the best in the business. Now, if you want to earn that, we have to go out and learn to take that. And that starts with our work ethic, something that I was discussing earlier.
What you want to build, what you want to teach, can that happen in a year, or does that require more time?
It requires time. It's all about establishing the foundation of what you do and how well you do it. And then you got to understand as well, it's a part of the process. Nobody likes losing. Everybody wants to win. And now we live in a day and age where patience is not, quote unquote, virtue. The overnight success. But if you want to do it the right way, it takes time, okay? And you have to have an opportunity to build it however you choose to build it. And I think that's any particular coach, any general manager, any body in ownership, anybody in any type of business outside of this. You know, it takes time. But you just got to make sure that you're executing your plan and understanding that, hey, you know what? You're going to have hiccups every now and then. What do you need to do to make that plan even more direct and get it back on track?
Having the kind of assistant head coach title this year, did you feel like you had a little bit more responsibility? And as you talk about building, do you feel like part of what you were able to have your hands involved in this year helped build your career?
Oh, yeah. I think having that title has helped. I mean, just, you know, Coach Ryan giving me the opportunity to work, overseeing training camp, all that stuff's helped. You know, it forces you to think outside the box and to make sure that you're doing it in a way that is helping the team moving forward. Now, one thing you do learn, everybody's not going to like what you like, and that's okay. But that's why you're in charge, because you're doing what you feel is best for the entire organization moving forward. And that's what I was discussing earlier about establishing the foundation. You know, it's time for us not to rely upon what we know. It's time for us to make sure that we understand that comfort is the enemy of progress. Change has to be something that we all embrace. All right? Thank you. Yes, I love Uno. Not cheap, pretty good too.